As you eat, let's see what you remember in terms of your project proposal. Kara, what do you remember in your project proposal? How to arrive at the topic?
I can't remember, but I know you need to be like specific, and you need to, well, I was saying that you can't test something in the future, you need to be
That's right.
Past.
So you're not going to look at future.
present.
Something that doesn't exist, you're not going to test that. You're not, it has to be the present. And another thing, it has to be very specific. So we say the first thing you do is the aim of your paper. The aim of my paper, the aim of my thesis is to so. So it's very, very specific. What is the second thing? The second thing was why you select the topic. So justification. Why? Why are you doing this topic? Of all the topics in the world, I selected this because A, B, C, and D. What is the third thing? What is the third thing you do? If I'm going to look at a topic, what I want to do? I want to test it. So, I am going to look at a methodology. Now people use the word methodology and method interchangeably. And that's not true, eh? The methodology is all the things you're going to do, including look at the secondary data sources, including your interviews, including your surveys. All that is part of a methodology. So methodology is a big part of it. Then what is the third thing you're going to do? So the first thing is the aim. So let's look at the aim of our paper. Let's just look at Mira's paper. Mira, the aim of your paper was to do what?
To review the national policy on aging in Trinidad and Tobago.
To review national policy on aging in TNT. Very specific. She's not saying she's using the word review, which means what? I'm going to look and see what they're doing with the national policy. Alright? She's not going to say, I'm going to see how they formulate it. She's going to say, I'm going to implement. She's not going to say, I'm going to test it. She's simply going to review it. Which means when we use the word review, and she's very specific with her term, when we use the word review, you could review it in conjunction with other existing policies. She could look at what they have in the field and compare it. So the word is review. She's reviewing what? She looked at one thing, the national policy on aging. And the third thing, so this is the second, the third thing, she's very specific in terms of our country. This is where I am going to look at it. Trinidad, but more specifically in Trinidad. Okay? Why did she do it?
We have an aging population in Trinidad and very
So one of the things, we have an aging population, and she'll give to make sure that she justifying it because of the aging population. What she'll do? She will use data to support it. What is the percentage of the aging population to the wider population? What again?
Well, it will affect social, economic, political.
She's looking at impact.
Yeah.
The aging population will have an impact. And therefore, because it has an impact on the country, I want to look at it. What is your method?
Secondary sources and structured interviews.
And what again?
Structured interviews.
Secondary sources, data sources. And she's looking at unstructured or structured. Sometimes she could use structured or unstructured interviews. Okay? So she's very specific what she aims to do, how she going to do it. She wants to review this, and she wants to really look at what they're doing, why they're doing it, and why it's important. What is the next thing she's going to do here? So this is your proposal, this is your plan. What's the next thing? She will break down, this is your first chapter. She will break down according to chapters. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, and 5. What do you think our first chapter will be? What our first chapter will do?
Let review.
Not yet. No. You can't. I'm now meeting Khadija for the first time. You introduce your topic. It's a broad macro introduction. Introduction. And the introduction is going to say exactly what we're doing. You're starting with the abstract. Somebody not in proper. You're starting with the abstract, with their summary. And then you're starting, the aim is to do this, why I want to do it, the methodology I'll use, and why it's important. Place it into a context. Alright? What is the second thing she's going to do? I wonder, the review of the academic literature. Review of the academic literature.
So excuse me, I'm looking for this place.
Oh dear, my dear. Robert slice some pizza and okay. Chapter 1, chapter 2, what is chapter 3? What is chapter 3 going to do? Now for the first time, she's going to present how she's going to about this thing. What she's going to do. This is a broad, so this is macro. This is using the literature in the field, which we're going to look at today. What's the third chapter going to be on? You want to do a chapter on methodology. Now, if it is that you're not using too much quantitative, you don't have to use a methodology. It could be subsumed here. Okay? If it is that you're using a big quantitative thing, you could do a methodology chapter. You have to decide whether you want to do that quantitative, if it is really hard for quantitative. But if it's more, you are doing mainly qualitative, by the way, because remember your word, you're reviewing. For the master's level is not as rigorous as the MPhil or the PhD. She could use secondary data source for the rest of her life. You, people who are doing the MPhil, the PhD, you don't only use secondary data source. You have to prove something new. Okay? So the third chapter, what do you think she should go in?
Background.
A background. Very good. What is the fourth chapter? She could compare it to. She could compare it to other countries. And then she could do a discussion here. Right here. And she could do her conclusion here. It will change. This will change. This could change according to your topic. You know that. It's not cast in stone. You could tweak it, you could amend it. But what is important in this is the logic of the truth. The reader who is reading, never assume that the reader who is reading your thesis knows your topic. Okay? Never assume that. You are telling to me, this is the story. And it's how you develop that story. You really don't want to use it like a story though. You want to be more scientific in your approach. Okay? So can we move on now? So everybody, this will be happening. You, those who attended before, would have this plan or this proposal. Okay? What we want to embark now is in your review on your academic literature. Anybody have a problem? Anybody wants to go through their plan? And if Josh finished, Josh you can take the board and go through some of the relevance of our academic.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought it was just coming for lunch.
You think we just have to eat?
Yeah.
Shocked.
No,
I have to work it out, yeah.
Okay, so just want to come up. Anybody wants to go through their plan? Because what we will do is use your plan. So just come and carry Jennifer through hers. We will use your plan to work through a review of the academic literature. The others should have your plans. You got your plan? The others should have your plans and we'll work through because it's a workshop, it's not a talk shop, a workshop. So we will use your plans for the academic literature. So let me go with Jennifer and see what happens. Yeah, you push.
So,
And everybody knows Josh Rayton, by the way. No?
hi, I'm Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Sounds like an AA meeting, right?
Yeah.
Alright, mine says to examine the Public Service Commission to determine.
Okay, she start off with one before you introduce yourself. So go for one time.
So, but before we get into that, I just want to explain a couple things briefly that when you speak about a literature review, there are different types.
No, well, what happened first?
So you want that plan, and then we can come back to the
develop.
types?
No, and then we'll develop the review. Because you want to see
Right.
how to develop
Two.
your review. Let me do that.
To examine the Public Service Commission to determine what brought about the breakdown of systems of its performance management and how these challenges are being addressed.
Jennifer, you want to do everything on the kitchen sink.
Breakdown in systems.
Yeah. Right. And how these challenges are being addressed.
And
How these challenges are being addressed. Is it too long?
I think, Jem, I think it's too many things you want to do.
Can I ask,
You can stop and ask us to go.
I'm being ignorant here. Now, sometimes when you look at a scenario, you are seeing from what you already know and what you've already read, hey, this is an issue, that is an issue.
But you know
and
what
all
you're
of
doing?
those issues are
Wendell, you
linked
know what you're doing?
to,
You all are supposed to be scientists, political
Yeah.
scientists.
right.
You already making a statement there, you know, that shows you are biased, Jennifer.
Okay.
You are biased. You are already leading your examiner and a reader down a road you shouldn't go.
Okay.
What are you all supposed to be saying here in this room? It's based on objectivity, eh?
Oh, okay.
And those who don't have a slice of piece of cake, another slice, please.
Yeah, because I don't eat cheese or meat, so it's not going to work.
And that's it. So you're leading down those people a road that you really don't want to go. It's just straightforward.
cool.
You don't
So-
agree with me that she's leading?
Well, yeah, I think that you may have to re-examine this entire, is it your aim or objective?
Okay.
Aim or objective? This is your aim, right? Aim of your paper. Okay. So you have to review this and probably come up with one, an assessment of the challenges faced by the Public Service Commission. That's one. Or you can do an assessment of a particular department within the Public Service Commission, and then within your paper demonstrate that there has been a breakdown. But in terms of using the term breakdown, there's an assumption that you're making here, and more than likely you would have to do some significant background research in your paper to show, yes, there's a breakdown, and as a result, you're doing this. So instead of doing that, my thing would be just assess the challenges faced within the Public Service Commission, and again, the Public Service Commission is of course huge.
Right, so we want it's
So
fine.
yeah, you want to if you go and focus on, let's say, promotion, so you're going to look at assess the challenges within promotion, and you can even be more specific, promotion within a particular range. Because isn't that
I want to throw in a second one,
Yeah.
the time.
yeah, and yeah, time is important because there are a number of factors, as we were discussing coming upstairs. There are a number of factors that would account for certain changes, and you don't want a case that in the middle of your research is a change that you knew would have happened. So time is important if it's between a 2-year period, etc. So is it a retroactive or is it a prospective research paper that you're doing? So because you have right,
Right, because it's,
So-
this is a athlete started.
and it doesn't MSc, so it's just sufficient to do a review.
It's what?
It's just sufficient to do a review.
Alright, okay.
So you don't have, because you only have 20,000 words to play with.
Only.
Only.
Yeah.
20,000 words is equivalent to about 4 to 5 of your projects, depending on the project size.
Alright.
And that's like 5 courses. You would have done that anyway throughout your, first year if you're part-time, or within the first semester if you're full-time.
But I will advise any student in an academic paper, never lead the reader.
Alright.
Or you have to stand back, the person must never see. You have to stand up using words like break down, that this thing is not working. That's not your role and function. You are supposed to take an entity or take a subject or take an institution, and you're not supposed to come in with what should I say? Preconceived notion. You're not supposed to do that. I think your first suggestion, John, that it should be, if you want to assess the challenges facing the Public Service Commission, I think it's a wise one in a time period.
No, there are a number of things we can look at. If you're speaking about systems, and it's extremely important that if you're going to use words like systems or mechanisms, to define them. So, off the bat, you would have to do a footnote to define what what a system is within the context of the Public Service Commission. My advice, instead of having to, because it will take up a lot of work, would be to pick a particular unit, department, instead of speaking about a system. Because systems, as we know, have different parts and components. And by the time you do a review on all of that, you're going to have some, a lot of work.
You never finish. Okay.
So,
look at a specific. I agree to pick the department.
and nothing is wrong with being very specific. Actually, it helps you to keep you on track, and it allows you to go deeper into that particular piece of research. Because I assume that's what you really want to engage in an exercise as fact finding to figure out what's wrong. You want to identify a problem or issues. So going deeper is always useful, unless you're gonna look at how things.
Another thing I will add to what he's saying. If you use the word systems, remember the review of the academic literature is not a review of a booklet. The review of the academic literature is a theoretical basis on which you're going to found your work. Now, if you put the word system, I don't know what literature you have to use, everything under the sun. If you look at an organization or a unit, a department, there is a foundation you could use. You could look at leadership, you could look at structure, you could look at a policy, but it's very defined.
Alright.
Remember, as you go with your thesis topic, the broader it is, the more difficult to define a foundation, a specific foundation literature.
There are so many interesting things that you can replace systems or break down in the system, I think is supposed to be. So yeah, that'll be my advice. Just focus on that very specific area, and then build on that. Because nothing debars you from later down the line, examining another unit, and then you can speak about a system. You can now compare multiple units and say these units now will be your system. And if you want to go on to do a PhD, you can now use the term systems because you understand how these units interconnect and work to perhaps achieve any goals and the outcomes of the Public Service Commission.
Actually, a master's is a good footing for you to test whether you could go further with it at the PhD level. Okay, anybody else wants to have their topic put up there and we'll discuss your topic thesis? The thesis topic. Ms. Paul?
Yeah, sure. Initially, I was looking at factors that lead to workplace conflict in the public sector and the use of mediation as a tool in resolving conflict in Trinidad and Tobago.
No, let me say one thing. You have Ms. Jennifer John is in the DPA right here. You could talk to her. You have Mulder George over there in the EMA. You have Wendell Bernard in Treasury. If you don't form Crystal Roberts is actually right there. If you don't form links here for that, forget it.
Like facility to
Workplace conflict and the use of mediation as a tool in resolving conflicts within Trinidad and Tobago's public sector. But we tweaked it a bit, and it's now supposed to be to identify the factors that. Okay, I'm supposed to narrow it down.
So even before we go to that, do you know the factors?
Yeah.
You know them, all of them.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm looking for
I would have liked to know when she talks about workplace conflict what she means.
Well, yeah, you have to define that.
Yeah, I did.
Because that too is important in the entire process. Because if you, in terms of the literature on factors that affect workplace conflict, and this is where?
In the public sector.
That's the issue. The public sector, again, as you know, many of us would know, is not a monolithic structure. It's quite diverse,
Yeah, that's
and
why
they're
I
different.
down
Yeah.
to one place.
So again, it's a similar comment from here. You have to think about where, and you may want to speak about risk factors, because then your risk factors will determine where your study takes place. So is it that you have a higher risk of, let's say, workplace conflict within a particular department or unit? Maybe based on, and workplace conflict may be based on personal internal relationships, maybe based on structures of accountability. There are a number of factors. So I'm just, exploring it.
Let me find out what you mean by workplace conflict. How would you find it?
Conflict that takes place within a work environment.
Yeah, but it could be a personal and a direct conflict, person to person.
No, there are
It
no.
could resolve itself in absenteeism. You could have a number of things. You need to define what you mean by workplace conflict. Right now we have a lot of workplace conflict because of the environment, and the workers are walking off the job. So you need to tell us what you mean by that workplace conflict.
In terms of the literature you've read so far, what have they defined as workplace conflict? Because that's important when you go into your research. Making that connection between what the literature says and what you're doing.
Yeah, but they spoke about conflict. That takes place. A lot of the literature that exists, they speak about it from a managerial perspective. So Prof asked me to include that as well. And then they listed the factors that contribute to conflict within the workplace. And just like she said, there are a number of factors, and then they go into interpersonal, interpersonal.
Right. That's what I was
Okay,
wondering.
that's what we're trying to get at.
Okay.
But question, if you're looking at this study, let's say you look at this study in terms of trying to solve workplace conflict. Now, the public service is broken up as Mr. Just said, into okay, into various sectors. You have what they call the state and the quasi state enterprises. You have the central public service. You have the
Statutory
board
authority.
statutory authorities.
Yeah.
Then
The civil service.
right. How do you when you take your sample? And that's what I'm getting at. When you take your sample, how would you sample that? How would you take a sample that is representative?
No, but what she wants to do now.
You're going into a very interesting area.
She wants to narrow it down, and that's why she needs contacts in the public service now to select one ministry or one department.
Okay.
And that's why I'm pointing out who you all are around this table for her to know.
Right.
You're bringing up a very important thing, and that's the whole question of research design. Not every type of research design you need to have, you're not making generalizations. So you have case studies that are specific to situations,
Right.
as opposed to using some quantitative methodologies that you are allowed to be able to calculate error, that kind of thing. So just to be sure that generalizations usually accompany a particular kind of research design.
All right.
And that's why it's important if you go into city public sector, don't use that term at all. Speak about a particular.
But what happened, Khadija is not one of ours, right? She's not political science or public admin. Khadija is mediation.
Yeah.
So her training set her on a different kind of tangent.
Yeah.
And her research, a little bit, I don't know if they touched on what we were doing. So now I have to bring her back in the fold there. And that's useful for her to know.
But what may be useful, at least in coming up with where you look at, is to find out which departments, division, ministries, units, which one out of the lot actually employ mediation strategies. That's the first thing. So once you have that they already use these strategies, it's quite easy to then speak about how they have been able to use mediation. But if you pick a department that doesn't have any kind of strategy like that, the manager, whether or supervisors, depending on years, if they don't know about these strategies, how are you going to assess the use of?
But I'm not assessing the use of, I'm suggesting mediation as a tool.
So you have, right,
It's
so
a suggestion, yeah, right?
so what would determine where you pick? Like, is it that you're gonna look at files to see where there's been significant conflict in particular ministries or departments,
No,
and
but
then
that's,
use
that's
that?
where I
or-
am right now, because I was looking at it from the broad scope of the public sector, and then Prof suggested that I narrow it down. So I'm now at that juncture where I have to find an organization that I can use.
Miss Cooks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Prof, the email that I sent one on
Yeah, you
Tuesday,
did.
right?
Please.
So she was given some guidance from a senior colleague of mine who's actually a PS in the OPM,
Nice.
who advised that you go to legal affairs, which is actually that particular what's it called, the mediation center? I can't remember. Conflict resolution center.
Yeah.
That particular division of the Ministry of Legal Affairs was actually set up to treat those kinds of issues. So that's why she's suggesting, from her bird's eye view, the public service, and that's why I say public service and not sector, the public service, to talk to them first, so you can get an idea from them as to if it's maybe you should just go to them and talk to them alone, because they will really want to say, well, we have this new mechanism in place, this is something that we're trying, and and they will be able to tell you from the ground, this is what is going on. Bearing that in mind, there's also other grievance processes within the public service that are in the regulations. And I'm sure you from DPA, you'll be able to tell them what that is about. So it's not that it's not been there, it's just that sometimes things change form, they change names, but the basic theory, the basic, foundational idea is there. So I think she has been guided in that direction. So I think she should just go ahead and talk to them, stick with that particular entity, that agency within the Ministry of Legal Affairs, and then from there, if necessary, move on. Because I really don't think after she talks to them, it'll be necessary to go any further than that. Because that, and it's an MSc thesis, right?
Yeah.
So you could go there and talk to them, and they will be able to guide you. This is what we're doing. This is not what we're doing. This is the theory behind it, and we go from there. And we could talk more about it after in terms of particular contacts. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Anybody else with a thesis topic that want to? Yes.
To explore what conflicts,
Are you mediation too?
yes,
Yeah.
to explore what conflicts are experienced by students at the UBST halls of residence, how they have been resolved, and what role mediation can play in conflict resolution in this setting.
How they have been?
Yeah,
You mean previously resolved?
yeah.
And
To explore,
Which the whole of residence you using?
Milner.
So you could say that,
Okay, well,
yeah, you can look at. But what? All right. So let me just finish
yeah,
this.
to explore what conflicts are experienced by students at UE halls of residence. From saying, let's focus on one whole.
Yeah, you could focus on one whole.
Right. How they have been resolved, and what role can mediation play in conflict resolution?
Actually, I could see this one.
Yeah, I think it's quite clear cut in the context that you're exploring in the first instance in a specific area. So you're using Milner Hall. So you don't have to go anywhere else. How they've been resolved. So you may want to identify the top 5 issues or conflict. And what role can mediation play in conflict resolution. Now,
You know why I feel the 2 mediation students? I think the mediation students I have had before seem to view the research in pockets. Like previously where I supervised and it was I tell you something, it was really poor and they barely passed, they barely passed through that thesis. They seem to view that what will and I'm not putting you down in any way, sorry, I don't mean to do it. But there was no integration of the topics. I couldn't intervene because I do have a person who teaches research methodology. But what they did is they take like the first thing, factors that lead to conflict, And then they start writing about mediation as a tool.